stations.
Oh, yeah.
It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome in on a very drizzly Tuesday morning. Drizzly, grizzly, it all kind of works, right? Grizzlies had no Ja, no Triple J, no Bane, no Conchar. No problem. No problem whatsoever. They beat a full-rostered Miami Heat team. That was pretty darn amazing. It was a wonderful night for Tyus Jones, a career high and a double-double. He had 10 assists to go with 28 points. It was impressive, I would have to say. We had another Brady miracle. T.J. Reeves was on the sidelines. He was there in the corner of the end zone when the rookie White made the catch, got it in the end zone with 2 seconds left, and Brady has a record with the 44th comeback win in his career. That's more than anybody else. He did it later in a game than he'd ever done before. 2 seconds were left in the contest. It was the second time that Brady has engineered a comeback down 13 points in the fourth quarter. The other was in the Super Bowl against the Atlanta Falcons when he was with New England, and Atlanta blew that game for sure. I mean, they handed him a Super Bowl that time. Before that comeback, when they were down 13 with 5:21 to go in the fourth, Brady's last 15 series had resulted in 3 points and I think almost as many turnovers. So he looked like an old man. All of a sudden, I don't know what he took on the sideline, if anything, but he looked a different guy those last two series, and he got it done. T.J. Reeves is going to join us here in about 8 minutes or so. Jeff Moore's going to talk about that same thing. Mike DeCourcy will join us at 10:45. Tigers are taking on Little Rock tonight. It used to be UALR. They're no longer UALR. They're Little Rock. They have a fairly new staff. They're not very good. They're 2-6. Their net, because that came out, their net is literally 12 places below North Alabama, which means you can't lose this game. I'm going to check this really quick to see what the line in that game might be tonight.
Ken Pomeroy has it as a 26-point deficit, and usually Vegas is right on track with whatever he
Vegas
says.
is saying 27.5.
There you go.
You know, and Penny really got on the team against North Alabama. He was really PO'd that they didn't respect the opponent. They took him too lightly. They didn't care. They didn't play hard. Remember that? He kept them in the locker room, seriously, a half hour after the game. We were late getting any kind of guests on the postgame show because he was reading them the riot act for a 20-point win. I suspect they're going to play really hard again tonight, and then that's the end of the breather for a little bit, because then you go to Atlanta to play Auburn, ranked. You go to Tuscaloosa to take on Alabama, ranked. Six SEC teams ranked, by the way. And we'll talk with Mike DeCourcy about the best of the divisions of the conference.
I think you're underselling the biggest part of tonight's game. It's a Preston Laird revenge game tonight.
It's a what?
Preston Laird revenge game.
Preston Laird? He's got
Former
no
Tiger.
revenge.
Well, we
treated him beautifully. Are you kidding me?
But whenever you go to a new team, it's got to be a revenge game when you come home.
Speaking of revenge games, nice piece by Jeff Calkins, the Daily Memphian, about Memphis playing Utah in 1971. And they went to Utah. They missed a field goal at the end of the game that would have won the game. They lost 7-6. They missed like 2 field goals and an extra point in that game. Here's part of the problem. The Tigers had, in those days, you could use a kicking tee like we do for kickoffs on field goals. And so somehow they only had one kicking tee, and it got caught up somehow in their tarp, the covering of the field, and they couldn't get to it again. I don't know why. but they refused to do it. But they said, "Don't worry, you can use our kicking tee." And then they wouldn't give him the kicking tee for the last one. So Billy Spook Murphy was always upset about that. So that is going to be a revenge game in Dallas on the 27th to pay back their not giving Memphis a kicking tee in 1971. So we do have revenge in mind. I don't know. Does it bother you, seriously? I've said this before, and I understand the science behind it. But it says to me, if you've got to sit your 3 or 4 stars, right, or 4 rotation players for sure, and there's nothing wrong with Triple J. There's nothing wrong with Ja. Bain is still coming back. Okay, I get that. Conchar could have played. Zaire Williams, I guess, played for a little bit, for a minute or two. It just seems to me that if you have to rest players for regular season games, because they don't give you a discount on the tickets, they're charging the people that sit on the wood over $1,000. They don't go, okay, our main guys aren't playing tonight, so you only have to pay a third, right? Or half, because half your rotation, you're not playing more than 8 guys in meaningful games, right? 4 of your rotation guys didn't play last night. They're not saying we're only going to charge you half price. They're charging you full price. You know what it says to me, J-Mo? It says to me that one of 2 things. You either don't schedule these games properly without enough rest, so you might have to make the season longer if you're going to play 82 regular season games, or you're playing too many games.
But not every team does it like this, though.
I think most teams in this day and age do.
Well, a lot of teams do. That's right. But not every team does it to the degree that the Grizzlies did it last night. Is kind of what I mean. Usually, it's just like one guy sitting. Maybe they'll have other guys going. But in a couple of respects, one, it's good for development, and it's also, I don't think fans necessarily value the different conferences the way teams do, because we were talking about it earlier this year. Another team they did it against was the Wizards. They did that against another conference team they'd already beaten. The Heat is another conference team. These aren't necessarily games that when you're doing your calculations at the beginning of the year trying to make the playoffs, you're factoring in, we don't need to beat these teams every time we play them. I think that has to do with it too. But I understand what you're saying, certainly. Teams do not like to go watch backup players go play.
I am telling you this. The guy that paid $1,000 to sit on the wood last night, he didn't pay $1,000 to see Kennedy Chandler. No.
But what a game, though.
No offense. Great game for him. It showed you he can play in the league, because I wasn't sure if he could. He's got great quicks. I think he's learning how to play. But they paid to see Ja. They paid to see Triple J. They paid, even to a certain respect, they paid to see John Conchar, who's become at least a decent rotation player. They did not pay to see a lot of the guys that were out there.
But that's also minimal, too. Like, last night's a tough one. I mean, you're coming home from Detroit the day before. That's a long trip, and it was a close game down the stretch. I mean, it was still a 10-point win or whatever.
I get it. I get that they're not playing guys in back-to-backs anymore, because the science has shown for some players it's just too tough. Ja, they don't want him to miss a lot of games, so they're being precautionary here. I get that. I'm saying to you, if that's the case, if science is telling you that's too much, even though it wasn't too much for, like 50 years of the league, but maybe they play harder now. That's always the excuse. Well, the league back then, they walked it up. It's harder now. And maybe to a certain extent that's true. There certainly weren't as many good players as there are now, because there's more people that play the game, more people that get scholarships, more people that play when they're 7 years old in organized competition. So there's more better players, so you can spread it out a little bit. But it's very clear to me, if science is telling you this, science should be saying to you, we got a product to protect. Therefore, we need to spread out the season or play less games, one or the other.
On the other side, too, I was about to make another argument for the distance of travel, but how about this? Don't you think it's good for the league, though, when these young guys step in that aren't the John Morants and stuff like that, and they still play at the quality of level that you expect in the National Basketball Association? I mean, it just goes to show how many good players are on every roster, too. Now, I understand what you're saying.
Are you telling me watching Kennedy Chandler, and I don't disrespect
Well,
him, I'm really
game,
happy
though.
for him. They won the game. But are you telling me watching him last night was the same as watching John Morant?
It's not the same as watching Ja, but it just goes to show how robust these rosters are and how deep each roster is.
It's deeper. I give you that it's deeper.
Like in the bubble when the Nets didn't play anybody and they went on that winning streak where they're starting like Karis LeVert was the best player on the team. I think that's really, for me at least, I enjoy seeing how deep these guys are and some of these guys don't get to play.
I want to see the stars, and I think the average fan does,
Maybe
and I
so.
think they're being robbed. I mean, the year that Cleveland was in Memphis one time over Christmas, and a lot of people bought Christmas presents to see LeBron James, Kevin Love, and who was the third guy?
Kyrie.
Kyrie Irving. None of them came.
Mm-hmm.
That was just ridiculous. And that's what you've got. Last night, I don't think you can do that anymore. If the game is like on national TV and it's a road game, you can't sit out all those guys anymore. But if you're a Memphis guy and you paid great money to see the Heat last night, and you saw the hustle for full price, I don't think that's right either. I don't know exactly what the answer is. Maybe you spread it out a little bit. You don't play 3 and 4 nights or back-to-backs, whatever it takes. But you can't rob your fans of your product, in my estimation, and have it last for a long, long time. We are sitting in the Family Leisure Studio. You know they got the Christmas sale now. It's out. It's happening right there at I-40 and Whidden Road. You need to go check it out. You will love what you see. I promise that's the way it always works with those folks. They have right now, they've got the massage chairs. They've got the theater seating. They've got the pool tables and the shuffleboard and the saunas and the hot tubs and patio furniture. And now they have a Christmas price tag on them. Go while the going's good. Get to I-40 and Whidden Road and see our friends at Family Leisure. This show also is brought to you in title. It's our presenting sponsor. It's Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch, where you can right now walk in the doors at Craft Road and Highway 78. Craft Road's the first exit in Mississippi, really off Lamar. You turn left, you go see Chris True, you pick up a brand new Hyundai, best product on the market, and you don't have to worry about paying for 3 months. 90-day deferment payment on all the new Hyundais at Homer Skelton Hyundai. A little bit earlier, I had a chance to catch up with our good friend TJ Reeves.
As he promised, he's back. TJ Reeves, late night for him, but a smile on his face, and I can actually see it. The Buccaneers and Tom Brady, 44th record time that he has engineered a comeback. I don't know what it did. It took like 55 minutes for him to wake up. What's the deal with the
listen, it's great to be with you, and we're making this work because, again, on my end, I have something I do live with BetUS during your showtime at 10 Central Time. I was not going to not come on with you after that comeback and that win. So we're making the interview happen here. It was incredible. And I have to say, this is easy to say again, but when they got the ball back and forced the Saints to punt with 2.5 minutes left, I'm standing there going, he's going to do this again. The only question, get greedy now, is are you going to leave the Saints too much time on the clock? And they didn't. They found a way to score. And Wolo, they scored and had a holding penalty wipe it off. So in the stadium, everybody gasps and everybody, oh, you got to be kidding me. The touchdown comes off the board. But then he gets the completion to Godwin. They're down at the 6-yard line. There's like 6 or 7 seconds left. You've got one timeout left. And he finds the rookie Rachaad White. Talk about an all-time story real quick, Wolo. Your first NFL touchdown reception is from Tom Brady on Monday Night Football to win the game with 3 seconds left. I mean, talk about an all-time fishtail. That is incredible for the rookie.
And it's the capper of the record, because that's the most comebacks now ever by any player in the history of the National Football League, 44. I must tell you, before that, though, he had engineered 15 series with the Bucks, and it had netted only 3 points. I think there were a bunch of people, and I this was fortuitous because the Saints did you a great favor by dropping a couple of passes that might have been touchdowns, probably would have been touchdowns. But all being said and done, I think there were some people that thought Brady was looking like a 45-year-old guy.
And at times he does. I'm not going to deny that. You're playing with house money. I mean, right now you've won a Super Bowl. I mean, who had him still doing this 3 years here? 45 years of age. I mean, nobody did. We know that. And I'm showing you the photo that I put on social media of Rachaad White sticking that ball out. I was right there on the goal line. J-Mo can hit the retweet on that if fans want to see it. I put it on social media this morning. But that's the thing. You give him the chance to beat you. This is what he's going to do. And I know they struggled. They're a flawed team. There is no doubt. They don't create turnovers right now. 2 turnovers, 2 takeaways for the defense in 8 games. That's not good enough. The offense inconsistent at times, having trouble running the ball at times, but you're still 6-6, and you've won 3 of your last 4, and you put the Saints away. I am proud to sit here on Sports 56 looking at you, and they're hearing us on the audio and say, bye-bye New Orleans. Now, with a 9th loss, and the Bucs have the head-to-head tiebreaker, that's it for them. So now it's a matter of whether Atlanta can make enough noise to make it interesting. Buccaneers finish the regular season, final game at Atlanta. Will it matter for the division? Will it matter or not? We will wait to see, but I can't tell you how much of a blast it obviously is to be part of that, go in the locker room after the game. It was looking bleak, but to win again, this is what those fans in New England got spoiled by for so many years. This guy continuing to do that over and over again. And Peyton Manning did it over and over again, and Brett Favre and Dan Marino and others. I'm going to leave somebody out, Drew Brees, whomever else, Troy Aikman. But this is incredible at 45 years of age to watch.
It is, especially when it looked like he was old and tired in that game, and then suddenly found that incredible Brady magic. So you are 6-6, and you are in probably the worst division. I don't see anybody catching you. I guess the Falcons and Memphis and Arthur Smith have the best chance.
Well, and they have 5 wins at the moment. They are on the bye now for this coming weekend with New Orleans, and then they play each other. They play at New Orleans, and that's now a must-win for Atlanta down the stretch of the season. So that's probably the only suitor. I don't think Carolina is going to be a factor with the interim coach, even though they beat the Buccaneers. It's been a wild season. It's been a wild season where anybody can beat anybody, it seems like right now. Just get in the tournament, Wolo. That's what we're saying down here in Tampa Bay. Right. Just get in the postseason and have a puncher's chance with a home game for winning the division to have a chance in the postseason.
All right, let's just say you do. How competitive, and be realistic here. We know you are the Bucs sideline guy. Your heart is definitely with Tampa, as we can see by your hat.
I've got a hat on while we're talking. That's a Buccaneer hat. It's known what my allegiance is.
We've got that. But you're also a wizened, old now veteran reporter.
Right.
So you tell me, how far can the Bucs really go?
Okay, so right now it hypothetically would be a rematch with the Cowboys, who they've already beaten, and it would be at home. That would be wild. Who's betting against Tom Brady in a home playoff game right now? Seriously. I mean, I'm just saying rhetoric.
I would be.
Okay, we'll find out. But I mean, this guy at home with the magic you've now seen, I mean, you can knock the Rams and the Saints for not being that good, but you still got to go win the game. You still got to go make plays. The Saints weren't just playing prevent defense, by the way. They were bringing the blitz on those last 2 drives, and he still was finding a way to find receivers. So if you keep Tom Brady upright, to answer your question, and you keep him healthy enough to get into January, I like the chances to get a win. And if you can get a win, then anything goes from there on. Just get into the postseason. So a lot of fun. So many years of losing in and around this organization to win games like this and to now set up meaningful December football, winning a game like that on Monday Night Football. It's tremendous, Wolo.
Okay, real quick, you are now doing this thing for BetUS on college basketball. First Net rankings came out yesterday. We've seen North Carolina out of the poll, preseason #1. Give me your real quick summation.
I don't know what to make up at the top, because it looks like anybody can beat anybody. I mean, North Carolina is the preseason #1. They've lost 4 games in a row. We've seen Gonzaga big wins, but they've also been beaten, including this past weekend by Baylor. How about Baylor gave up 93 points to Marquette? And then they turn around and beat Gonzaga. Anything up at the top seems like it can happen right now. Wide open. How good is Duke? We're going to find out. How good is Kentucky ultimately in the SEC? And by the way, go Tigers go as an alum with the win over Ole Miss. I've had quite a last 2 or 3 days, Wolo. The Tigers win over Ole Miss and the Buccaneers win Monday Night Football. And I know you got a roll. This was a lot of fun to make this happen here.
Yeah, we'll talk to you sometime soon. Thank you so much, buddy.
Listen, always great to be with you off a Buccaneer win, and we'll do this again down the road with Wolo.
You got it. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure to chat with my good friend T.J. Reeves. He's brought to you in part by Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. So it's a big decision you're making, right? You're building that dream home finally. Maybe you get this piece of land you're not sure how to utilize. Ken Garland will know. But maybe it's you really want to stay in the lot you have. You love your home, but it doesn't have the modern amenities. No island in the kitchen, no California closets, no media room with those theater seating and the speakers on the wall. Ken Garland can put those into your new home. I call it renovation with innovation. All you got to do is call 751-1632. He's fun to talk to. Ken Garland is one of those rare guys that sees little details and big picture all at the same time. Go see what I'm talking about. This company started 60 years ago with his dad. Now he's got it. It's running. KenGarland.com. Go see what I'm talking about and then call 751-1632. Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. Jeff Moore in the house. We talk NFL. We'll put Week 13 to bed in just 1 minute.
Let former Memphis Tiger Gabe Kuhn and Brett Norsworthy take you home every afternoon with Sportstime on Sports 56. Weekdays from 3 to 6 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Locally owned and operated since 1885, Barton's has always been your hometown building supply store. And now Barton's is your go-to for replacement car remotes and key fobs. Introducing DuraKey. DuraKey replacements and renewal kits can be programmed in-store while you wait. Plus, save up to 60% compared to dealer prices. Visit your West Memphis Barton's at 215 West Broadway today for help with your car remote replacement and all of your home repair and remodel needs.
People here are raving about QC Kinetics and how regenerative medicine has changed their life. People like Helen, an avid mountain climber who got sidelined when an accident left her knees in constant pain.
I was not able to train or do really anything on my knee.
Helen was told surgery would be her only option. But then she found QC Kinetics and was treated with natural biologics designed to repair and restore tissue in her knees. 3 months later, she was climbing the highest mountain in North America.
I got a very quick resolution to my pain. I began treatment in March, and I summited Denali June the 7th. It was super successful, and I recommend everyone seek out QC Kinetics as an alternative to surgery.
Get your life back with lasting results. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. Call QC Kinetics today.
Call QC Kinetics, 901-445-1010. That's 901-445-1010. 901-445-1010. That's 901-445-1010.
Where do holiday happenings take over every aisle? Lowe's, actually. Right now, you'll save big on everything you need for the holiday season. Get up to 50% off select pre-lit Christmas trees and holiday living LED string lights. Plus, save on your gift list with up to 50% off select tools and accessories. The holidays are here, and so are the savings. Only at Lowe's. Offers valid through 12/14. Selection varies by location while supplies last.
Looking for a bar with it all? Pimeno's Burgers Bar and Grill. Pimeno's makes football your fantasy with 17 TVs and $2 draft beers during the game, Monday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. And you know I love a great happy hour. At Pimeno's, $4 house cocktails, Monday through Friday, 3 to 7. Yes, $4 house cocktails. Try one of their signature drinks like the JJ Spicy Margarita or the Tennessee Sunset. How about a Memphis Mudslide? Or be a kid again with the Adventure River Rum Punch. Hungry? Try a fan favorite, Bacon Pimento Cheeseburger. Or be like me and try them all. The Mushroom Extravaganza, Sweet Heat, and the Dirty, Mean, and Nasty. Need I say more? Well, yes, because there's so much more than just pimento cheese. Sliders, salads, quesadillas, 10 different appetizers. Just don't forget about dessert. 2 great locations, 6450 Poplar Avenue in East Memphis, and in Collierville, 3751 South Houston Levee Road. A bar with it all, Pimento's Burgers Bar and Grill. So much more than pimento cheese.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
You know, now on Tuesdays, we put to bed the week in the National Football League. We do it with our friend Jeff Moore. So this is week 13 we'll say goodbye to. And we said goodbye to it in a big way last night. Tom Brady with his record 44th comeback victory. He looked like an old man until there was 5:21 left to go, and they were down 13 points.
Yeah, and that was just vintage Tom Brady after that.
Yeah, just there you go.
Yeah. So I mean, his career has been such that he almost lives for those kinds of moments. But his receivers had to make some big plays in that last drive, and they did. Hopefully it'll give them some confidence. They're fortunate to be in a division they're in where nobody's really threatening them. And they've got a big game, I think, this weekend when they play the 49ers. Since the 49ers lost Jimmy G, they've got a new guy, Brock Purdy, that's going to be calling snaps for them. But that defense for the 49ers is outstanding. So that's going to be an interesting test for Tampa.
I think Tampa won the division last night because now they're at 500. The Falcons are the closest to them. I think they will play the Saints in a couple of weeks. I know the Saints, I think, are off this week. That'll be must win for both of those teams to sort of stay in the race. I kind of think the Saints are out. I felt bad for Andy Dalton because the Saints should have won that game. There's no doubt. They should have won by 2 touchdowns that were both dropped. 2 passes in hands that would have been touchdowns, both dropped.
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate. And, this Saints team has kind of had Tom Brady's number for a while. That defense has always made it tough on him. But when you give him that opportunity at the end of a game under those circumstances, he just puts a lot of pressure on your defense because he makes really good decisions with the football.
You mentioned Jimmy G in San Francisco, and, they got McCaffrey. It looked like they were really going to be a team that was maybe going to take over the NFC West, and now they lose that quarterback. That's 2 quarterbacks they've already lost now to season-ending injuries. And so they got this guy that was, I think he was Mr. Irrelevant, which means he was the last player taken in the NFL draft. And they kept him all this time, so he must have something. And he did look decent when he came in for Jimmy G. But what happens to the Niners now? Is that the end of their chances to win that division?
I don't think so. I think this is definitely a championship defense. Those guys are playing great. And I think with the weapons that Brock Purdy will have on offense, they've got a chance to be competitive. I think Coach Shanahan will just kind of reel him in and make sure that he's comfortable with the things that they're using him to do. But anybody that plays the 49ers, I think, needs to be ready to play because that defense is really flying around and making plays.
Speaking of dominance, I wrote down, I want to talk about the NFC East, the Eagles and how good they played. But what the Cowboys did the other day, well, they made Indy quit. I mean, I thought Jeff Saturday's team absolutely quit. When I wrote all this stuff down, I did not realize you were there. First time you'd ever been to AT&T Stadium. Your impressions of that one, and knowing now that's not the newest. The one in Vegas and the one in L.A. are actually newer stadiums. I haven't seen either of those.
Yeah.
But I know AT&T is really something to behold.
It's an incredible place. Just a state of modern architecture that's amazing. The field is unbelievable. The facilities, I think there's 350 suites in the building. I think it seats 80,000. But it was just impressive, even before the game, the kind of celebration that Cowboy fans have before the game even kicks off.
Tailgating outside.
Oh, my goodness. It was amazing. Yeah. Yeah, just a great venue. And if you're a player, I mean, you can't help but, take it up a notch when you play in front of that crowd because those guys really get behind you. It was very impressive. Now, the game itself, I agree with you. I think the Colts kind of let their guard down at the end of the game. But up through about the end of the third quarter, they were kind of going toe for toe, and the Dallas Cowboys defense just really became opportunistic and really did most of the scoring in the fourth quarter.
It looked like Jeff Saturday's team quit in the fourth quarter. I hate to say it.
Yeah. I mean, they made some bad plays. They fumbled, interceptions. Those things are going to happen. But up to that point, I was really impressed with the way the coach went toe-to-toe with the Cowboys. So it's one of those wins that you can take away. You look at the score, but the game was a lot closer than the score indicated.
So the Cowboys at this point are a wild card team, right? I mean, the East is probably the best division in all of the National Football League. The Eagles are just commanding, and now they're 11-1. Their point differential is plus 112, which is less than the Cowboys, who are, as we all know, the Cowboys are in second in that division. I guess they have the best record of any of the wild card teams at 9-3. Giants are 7-4-1. Even the Commanders, which tied the Giants this past weekend, are 7-5-1. Do you think the Eagles are better than the Cowboys?
I do. I do. I think Jalen Hurts is just playing out of his mind. The receivers that they have, the balance, their defense is really good. I just think that they're just playing at a higher, more consistent clip offensively, and it's just made for this team to be really formidable. They're young. They believe in each other. They play together. So I think they're a tough out. You know, they beat the Cowboys earlier. I think they're going to be a tough out for the Cowboys when they play again. But, of course, you know, you never know what happens when you get in the playoffs, and so we'll have to see. But I believe the Eagles are the best team in the league right now.
Since you mentioned that, we were talking Tampa. We had T.J. Reeves on here a little earlier. Do you think the Buccaneers can be a factor? They're going to win a terrible division. They may be under 500 when they win it, but can they be a factor, you think, in the playoffs?
I think they can because they do have the weapons. They've just not played well in a lot of games, and their record could certainly be a lot different. But the playoff experience that a lot of those veterans have, particularly Tom Brady, is going to make a big difference when they win that. If they win the division, as we anticipate, I think they're going to be a tough out. I mean, whoever plays them, they has to be ready to play, and I think Todd Bowles will have that defense flying around if they get to the playoffs.
You know, it's really interesting. You look at the NFC. You know, obviously, the South's only going to get to one team, whether it's the Bucs or the Falcons or the Saints. That remains to be seen. Most likely, it's going to be Tampa Bay. But the Eagles actually have a chance, I think, as I look at the wild card, where every one of the Eastern Division teams, depending on how Washington and the Giants finish, every one of them, I think, could get in.
That'll be fascinating to see. And the Commanders, you know, they beat the Eagles, and they always play that game tough because they're division opponents. But the Eagles are just playing with a lot of confidence now. Young coach, Jalen Hurts has been I think, the leading MVP candidate, him and Patrick Mahomes. It's going to be fascinating to see how the Eagles handle the postseason because they're really not making a lot of mistakes in the regular season.
I'm so interested in the wild card scenario. You know, 3 teams get in now, and if it started today, the Cowboys and the Giants, and of course the Eagles winning their division, 3 of the 4 would get in, and the Commanders are a half a game out because the Seahawks are 7-5, so they would get in. So 2 from the NFC West would get in. And the Commanders are 7-5-1. So that'll be worth watching. You could see every team from the East get in. J-Mo, I don't know if this has ever happened before, check, but has there ever been a division in the NFL since the playoffs went with the wild cards where somebody from the same division, where each team from the same division got in? Can't be because we didn't used to have 3 wild cards. Well, this would be a first, I'm almost certain, if that were to occur. And then there's the story of the Lions. The Lions are still in it at 5-7. They started off terribly. A lot of people were really kind of high on this team because of Hard Knocks. You sort of get prejudiced. And then they were just awful. Yeah. And yet now here they go, and they are really starting to play. They've won 4 of their last 5 games.
Yeah, they're playing with a lot of confidence. That coach is doing a great job of just instilling the culture in that team to get out and play for 4 quarters and really be competitive. And teams that face them down the stretch better be ready to play, I think.
And then, you've got the AFC. We haven't talked much about that. Kansas City, Buffalo. Those are clearly the top two teams, I think, in the whole NFL. I know some people think Philly. I'm a KC or Buffalo guy.
Watch out for the Cincinnati Bengals. They're 6-1.
Yeah,
they beat the Kansas City Chiefs this weekend in a game that they really made a statement because they beat them the last 3 times they played. But Joe Burrows is playing out of his mind right now, and what he's instilled in this team. We looked at the 2 Super Bowl teams. The Rams have dropped off the mat, but
that's
the
terrible.
doggone
Stafford got hurt.
Yeah, Cincinnati Bengals are playing really good football right now.
It's interesting because we have the herd with Colin Cowherd on this show on the station from 1 to 3, and I always find him to be fascinating, and he absolutely has a love affair with the NFL. That's, I think, his favorite league. And he was saying we can all talk about Mahomes, and you should because he's incredible to watch. We can all talk about Josh Allen, but he thinks the best quarterback in the AFC is Joe Burrow.
Well, Joe Burrow is playing great, but I think the biggest key for the Bengals is that their offensive line is protecting him better. He's had only 5 sacks in the last 4 games, and last year we know it. I mean, that offensive line was horrible, and so it's allowing for him to be able to get back there and really be effective. With his weapons. He got Jamar Chase back now. Now this Cincinnati team is peaking at the right time, and it's going to be interesting to see how they do down the stretch. They got the Jets this weekend. The Jets, had a tough out this past week. That's going to be a good test for them. But the Bengals and Baltimore are tied for that division lead, and I think that's going to be interesting to watch going down the stretch.
Baltimore plays at Pittsburgh. I don't know why the Steelers are actually the favorites in that game. Mike Tomlin's never been under 500. Do you think there's a chance they're going to get to 500?
I think there's a really good chance. I mean, they're starting to get a little bit of a rhythm, and they always play the Bengals tough. I can see how the Steelers would be favored, but it's going to be interesting to see what the Steelers are able to put together to get to 500 the rest of the year.
Any last thoughts as we get to Week 14?
Yeah, I thought it was fascinating to see. I was delighted to see A.J. Brown have the kind of game that he had against the Titans, and then come out in the press conference and talk about how he was really hurt by the fact that they traded him with the kind of production that he's had for them. That was a great story for me to see him be as effective as he was against his old team.
They were really good against a good team. There's no doubt in my mind about that, and I loved that he was honest because he could have said, "Oh, it's just another game." I didn't. He said, "I had it marked on my calendar." Jalen Hurts said it meant so much to him. 2 touchdowns, all those catches. He and Hurts ripped the Titans apart. That really was a great story this weekend. As always, we appreciate you coming in, and I look forward to Week 14, and we'll talk next Tuesday.
All right.
That's our friend. That is Jeff Moore on the National Football League. It is brought to you in part by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and Conway is letting you know that now HVAC prices are going to go higher because there are some new government regulations involving HVAC. So to beat that, get in now because Conway's making it so possible. You can get the new government good energy-efficient cooling systems from Conway before the prices go up, and they entice you by saying we'll give you a free furnace, so you get the heater if you get the cooling system, and they'll throw in a free Nest thermostat. So let me say that again. If you get the new system, a new HVAC system that's air conditioning, the heating system, the furnace, and the thermostat are all on the house. All you got to do is call 384-3511, 384-3511. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. We will head to Indianapolis here in just a second. Our friend Mike DeCourcy on a lot of things. I've seen him active on Twitter. Apparently some people are upset with the Final Four that are going to New York City for the Heisman because Hendon Hooker's not in there. They don't like that Stetson Bennett's in there, or Caleb Williams, or C.J. Stroud, or Duggan. I don't know exactly what the problem is, but some people are not happy about it. He's commented on Twitter about that. Also, he's covering the World Cup, and we got to talk about 6 SEC teams in the top 25, and the number 1 preseason team, North Carolina, no longer in the top 25. That doesn't happen very often. Mike is next.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hey friends, Bill Russell at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers. You're probably thinking now about what to get that wonderful lady in your life for Christmas. And if you want something special, let me give you some advice. Special gifts do not come with a cord or a plug. The best gifts come in small boxes, make her eyes sparkle, and those gifts are our strongest point at Russell Brothers. A beautiful diamond bracelet or perhaps a pair of stunning diamond studs could make you a real hero on Christmas morning. Maybe she's dropped some hints about a gold and diamond necklace, or you want to surprise her with a magnificent ring that says, I love you. Stunning gifts of jewelry come in so many different flavors, and we've got them all just waiting for you at Russell Brothers. We've been helping Memphis shoppers for 5 decades, and we would love to help you become a part of the Russell Brothers family. Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, 4646 Poplar at Perkins, and remember, no cords and no plugs. Let us help you be the best Santa you can possibly be. Russell Brothers Jewelers.
There's an institution in East Memphis that I love talking about. It's the Spirit Shop at 4848 Poplar Avenue, right down the street from Clark Tower, and it looks like a log cabin. It's been around Memphis since 1969 with a family-owned, friendly, knowledgeable sales staff that is just a wonderful place to go. I love going in and talking wine or bourbons, and they've got such great selection. So if you've not visited the Spirit Shop in a while, it's been remodeled. You'll love what you see when you need spirits. Tell Eddie Wolo said hello.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? So you've got an oil change coming up. Consider STP Conventional to save on motor oil for your everyday vehicle. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP oil filter for only $26.99. Get the complete job done at the right price at any of our 6,200 stores or on AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus of Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
To Indy we go to talk to the Hall of Famer from the Sporting News, lead college basketball analyst, Mike DeCourcy. I got so much to talk with you about today, not just basketball. I want to start with World Cup. You've been covering that for the Sporting News. How disappointed were you Sunday morning? We all watched, and Netherlands was better, but it might have been different if Pulisic had just put that first shot into the net.
Yeah, that's kind of soccer, isn't it? I mean, the U.S. had a great opportunity there. Wide open, one-on-one with the keeper. I thought he took the shot a little more quickly than he needed to, and he missed it. It was stopped. And exact opposite when Netherlands, after the U.S. played a beautiful first 10 minutes, the Netherlands gets one opportunity. U.S. doesn't defend it well, and all of a sudden it's 1-0, and it really changed the whole game there because the U.S. game plan was to pressure, to try to keep the ball, to try to keep Netherlands from being dangerous. And once you're behind, a lot of what they set up was in the toilet, kind of like you give up a quick touchdown or two in a football game, and all of a sudden, all your strategy doesn't work any longer. And that's what happened to the U.S. I'll be honest, I wasn't that disappointed. I thought they played really well. for the most part, except for the defensive lapses. I think one of the things that's being somewhat overlooked is that a European power built a game plan that said, we can't control the ball like they can. It's never happened in the history of soccer, ever. Like, that's never happened before. And it says something about how far the U.S. has come in terms of the way the U.S. can play now. And that gives you don't have to just do the thing where you stay back and hope to not allow any goals and maybe catch a goal in the counter and that sort of thing. You can play soccer with a lot of the best teams. If you can do that with the Netherlands, and you can do that with England, you can do that with a lot of the best teams. Well, and I think that was a huge statement.
You look at the age on this team, and they'll all be in their prime for the next one. You need another solid defender. You need another really good striker. I hear Aronson's brother is really a good player coming up, and he's young. I mean, I think this team sort of turned America onto soccer, and I think it's only going to grow even more over the next 4 years.
Yeah, the most important thing that happens now, honestly, is that the group of players that are between 16 and 20 or so become special. And I know Paxton there is a very talented guy. There's some other young guys that have that chance to be really good. But they had what was the difference between the U.S. and the powers is depth. Depth is the number one thing. Well, the number two thing. The number one thing is the positional weakness that the U.S. has at striker and at center back. Look, the three guys that played the central defense for the U.S. all did a good job. But they're not ideal. They're not what you'd really want to have when you really start to play the best teams. And I'm not saying that they're responsible for what happened, although Walker Zimmerman did commit the penalty that cost the Wales game.
Right.
But they have to be better at that position than they are now.
I like Connor Vicker. I think his dad Howard Carter played in the NBA.
Yes.
He's a solid guy. The future is really good. All right, before we get to hoops, I'm a Heisman voter. I've been watching on Twitter all these people so upset that Hendon Hooker did not make it to New York City. And apparently so many people are upset that Stetson Bennett made it. I mean,
I'm sorry, I'm one of them, Dave.
I know you are. I don't. You know what? You don't have a problem with Caleb Williams, do you?
No, I mean, he's a very talented guy, but I think he should finish fourth or so in a Heisman Trophy vote.
You don't have a problem with C.J. Stroud?
I don't think he's the best player. He did not have the best season on his team. He was not the best player on his team this year. That was Marvin Harrison Jr. He was just ridiculous. He was easily the best Ohio State player.
He was. I would give you that, but it was Stroud who was getting him the ball too.
Well, yeah, but he didn't have an extraordinary year. He did a year ago, but he didn't this time. He had a very good year, a very, very good year, if you want to say. But was he all time? One of the best players in college football history? No, and this is a pretty lean year for that. But I just don't think that, like Stetson Bennett, 20 touchdown passes in 13 games. Come on, that's not Heisman. That's a guy who's a really good, solid player on an unbelievably great team. So why not? I'll be frank, I don't remember the defensive lineman's name, but I've seen him, and he's just ridiculous. I mean, he's the best player on the team. He's probably the best player in the country. Why is he not in New York? The guy, he'll be the number one or number two player taken in the draft. That's you got to reward that, and maybe it's but I'm not a Heisman voter. I'd know his name.
I am. And what about Duggan? You got a problem with Duggan?
No. Again, another guy that belongs on your ballot, but again, not somebody you'd put at the top of your list.
So, who would be your Heisman Trophy winner?
Yeah, if I had a vote, so I'm going to look up his name now, so that I know.
All I can say is, if you got to look up his name, it can't be.
Well, as I said, I'm not a voter, or
right.
I would,
It's not Hendon. Is it Hendon Hooker?
No, if Hendon hadn't gotten hurt, I think he might have been a very good choice.
I agree with you. If Hendon Hooker hadn't gotten hurt and we'd seen what he had done, I would have voted for him for the Heisman.
No, Jalen Carter's the best college football player in the way that Ndamukong Suh was in his season. I mean, he's just the best guy. That's the way it is. But unfortunately, that's not how it works.
Right. Well, we don't. Charles Woodson's the only guy. Was there another? I know Gordy Lockbaum was a two-way guy.
Hugh Green finished second to George Rogers once upon a time.
That's right. I was thinking that was the only guy. I was thinking it was Hugh Green, but I couldn't quite remember. Those are the only three guys I can remember ever being mentioned on the defensive side. And I'm not saying that that's not right, but the truth is it's always an offensive guy. And somebody was cute with the way they said it. And I would have gone with the guy from Michigan for a while till he got hurt.
Right.
But they said they're going to change the Heisman, and it's a statue of a guy passing. So
yes.
That
was
was
a
kind
good
of
line.
cute. Yeah.
It said they got to get the running back off the trophy. Yeah, it's been 18 of the last 20 have been quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And a lot of the quarterbacks along that way, Jason White from Oklahoma. I remember Gino Toretto when I was a Heisman.
Oh, I do.
And
I remember Gino Toretto. Yeah.
Yeah, and I covered that. I covered Penn State then, and saw Gino Toretto in his Heisman season, and he wasn't the best player in the country. I just, it should be a special player. I always think back to when I was a kid, and the guys like Tony Dorsett and Herschel Walker and players like that were winning Heismans because they were extraordinary players, and Bo Jackson. And look, there have been quarterbacks who deserved it without a doubt. And I thought Bryce Young a year ago, the plays he made, the comebacks he had, he deserved it. But I don't know that we had that player this year. And Stetson Bennett is a perfect example of a guy who's getting it because he's the quarterback on a tremendous team.
Yeah, I don't know that he's going to
win
it
in the
personally.
room.
I don't think I don't know that he's going to win it. I'm not allowed.
I just should have said get in the room.
I'm not allowed to say who I voted for yet. But I will. I will when it comes out, and I feel pretty good about it. All right, let me switch to hoops and two things that I want to get to while we have the time. The first is 6 SEC teams in the top 25. Is that the best conference in America?
Well, you got a lot of Big Ten teams in there too. I think it's 6 or 7 at this point. Look, I think they can be, absolutely. I said before the year that I thought that it would be a really deep, strong league, and I think the Mississippi State's emergence under Chris Jans has been really big for that. The level of basketball they've played to this point has been important. Kentucky has to be better than they've been. They were really good on Saturday against Michigan. They got to beat that level for the league to be the best. Not that you need to have Kentucky, but in order to have, one of your most talented teams has to have a good year in order for you to be the best league. And Kentucky certainly fits the description of one of the most talented teams. They don't have to be the best team. I mean, it could be UT, it could be Arkansas. Those teams are capable of winning the league and carrying the banner without a doubt.
It's already been a crazy year. Your number one preseason was Kentucky, if I recall.
Right.
But North Carolina was the AP number one. I'm not sure I've seen a tumble that quick, where here we are first week of December, and the preseason number one is not even in the top 25.
Yeah, and the thing about it is it's not like they played a really tough schedule and got nicked a couple of times. They've been awful from the beginning. I mean, they were bad in their bye games. They just haven't been a good team at all, and part of it is that they haven't been deep enough. But that should be a problem against the good teams. I mean, that shouldn't be a problem when you're playing somebody that's a mid-major at home, and they were struggling in those games. I'm not sure exactly why they are as diminished as they are. I mean, some of it is okay. You had a great chemistry with your starting five last year when Brady Manick hit his stride, and now you have to change that to Pete Nance, but shouldn't take you down that hard. And as I said, the depth thing gets them in games like the Alabama game. Puff Johnson, their sixth man, that was his first game where he played double-digit minutes, I think, and I think he ended up playing like 30 or 40 because it went 4 overtimes. But they got nobody beyond Puff at this point that's ready to play with the rest of the starting five and fit in. And so that's a problem against the good teams, but it shouldn't have been a problem early on, and they just have not been good.
There's crazy things that happen this year. Like, I don't know that I've seen before. I probably have, but my memory's going as I get older here. Like, how does Creighton look like a Final Four team in Maui against really good competition, and then lose to Nebraska, which is not a good basketball team. I don't get that. How is
At home?
Yeah,
at home.
How does
on the road? Nebraska's got a great crowd at Pinnacle Bank. They on the road I could see it, but they were playing at home, and they were, and it wasn't like okay they kind of half baked that effort and then they got caught at the end. No, they weren't even close. They lost by double figures. That was the astounding result of the season. And I think we'll see how Nebraska evolves as a team, but I'm not sure we're going to see a crazier result in terms of high major basketball than that.
How about Louisville? When the first net comes out, they are 331 out of 333? How does that happen?
Wow. I mean, I will tell you this. I've watched several of their games. I do some radio in Louisville, so I kind of have to keep up on. I mean, the thing that I mentioned to them is that, like, first of all, they have players that either were recruited to there or transferred in. Huntley Hatfield, who transferred in from Tennessee, was a pretty high-level recruit. Even if you compare it to what Mick Cronin faced when he got to Cincinnati, and there were no scholarship, I think there was one scholarship player left, and or when Tom Crean got to Indiana, and by the time he got to the first practice, there was zero from the previous team under Kelvin. And even then, they managed to be competitive because that's what they coached. They said, okay, let's go out there and compete. Every possession, win or lose, we're competing. They're going to know they were in a game with us. And that's not what Louisville's doing. I mean, they are not competing. Their guys are not playing hard. They don't play with great effort or intensity or emphasis. I just see a defeat when I watch them out there on the floor. I just don't see any real belief that they can even be competitive against, that they played some bye games, one of them against Bellarmine, lost.
Yeah.
They played some high majors and have been non-competitive. I don't think I can remember seeing a significant program fall this hard this fast.
Could this Kenny Payne experiment last only 1 year?
I think I think that's hard to do, but I remember when Bryce Drew went 0 for the SEC, and I thought that was a mistake to let him go. A lot of people who responded to the column that I wrote said you can't come back from 0 for. Well, I mean, that was just the league, right? I mean, Louisville is a threat right now to go 0 for the year. I don't know that that'll happen, but I mean, it's right now.
If it was 0 for the year, he would be gone.
Yeah,
if it's 0 for the ACC, he's going to be gone.
Yeah, that's why I can't erase the possibility because I mean they could do it or come very close to that, and I don't know how you bounce back from that sort of performance.
The Jerry Stackhouse ejection. I'm sure you've seen the video of that. It is he just got a contract extension. I can't believe he feels like that much pressure. What do you think is going on with him and Vanderbilt?
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was that got into him in that circumstance. It's hard to understand at times when you see something like that. Coaches can get angry about things, but they understand in the end that they're going to get a terrible call and it may be consequential, but they're also probably going to get lucky on a call here or there. Like, they know when their guys committed a foul and they got away with it. I mean, you sitting there calling, 10,000 games for the Tigers have seen it 10,000 times that, oh man, that was lucky that one didn't go against the Tigers,
Right.
So why he would do that, I don't understand. But I wrote at the start of the year that he was one of the coaches that I thought needed to have a good year. And I don't know that that's the direction that this Vanderbilt team is headed at this point.
He's Mike DeCourcy, the Hall of Famer from the Sporting News. Thank you, my friend. We went a little long. I couldn't read. I thought it was 54. It was 59. So
Okay.
I got to let you go. Thank you much. We'll do it again next week.
Thanks, Dave.
That is Mike DeCourcy, brought to you in part by the good folks at the Eflin Insurance Team. Matt and his group, that includes Grant, and Andrew, and Heath, been together a long time. They do insurance a collaborative way. And in other words, they're going to sit down and get to know you and your family and then protect you in the right way. So they'll sit down Find out what's important, and then when they're doing that life insurance or that home insurance or your auto program, know how old your kids are, what their needs may be, what your budget is, then they take care of you. And if you've got a business, small to mid-size, and you need some commercial insurance, they're specialists with small to mid-sized business. Again, they get to know you. They know what your product's all about. They figure out your budget and how to protect you, and then you are off and running. All you got to do is call 386-GER. That's 901-386-4777. That spells GER because they're big Tiger fans. That's the Eflin Insurance Team. Tomorrow, Steve Earhart will join us. He'll talk a little bit about that matchup. He got what he wanted. Kansas and Arkansas. It's going to be a great AutoZone Liberty Bowl. That is for sure. Jarvis Greer will be with us, and we'll talk SEC with our friend Brett Norsworthy as his Rebels get set to go bowling, too. That's all tomorrow. Johnny Radio is next. Have a great day, everybody.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Woloshin here.